Right now, someone knows where you went this morning. They know what you searched last Tuesday. They know who you called, what you bought, which neighborhood you drove through at 11 p.m. And they've never met you. They don't work for Google. They don't work for Facebook. They work for the most powerful data company you've never heard of. Their clients? The CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the Pentagon, ICE, and now the entire NATO alliance. Their software may have helped locate Osama bin Laden. It's currently tracking migrants on American soil in real time, and it's powering AI systems that decide who gets targeted in a war zone. The company is called Palantir, and its name is not a coincidence. In Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a seeing stone, a crystal ball that shows you anything, anywhere, at any time. But here's what Tolkien knew, that even the good guys couldn't resist it. The stone corrupted everyone who used it, because that much power changes you. This is a story of a company born from a tragedy, built in the shadows, funded by spies, and now worth more than Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman combined. This is Palantir, and this has been the Monarch Report. September 11th, 2001. After the attacks, the US government made a brutal admission. They actually had pieces of the puzzle. CIA had intelligence, FBI had warnings, the NSA had intercepts, but none of those agencies talked to each other. Their data was locked in silos, separate systems, separate databases, separate worlds. 19 hijackers killed 3,000 people because no one connected the dots. That failure shook Peter Thiel. Now, you probably know Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, first outside investor in Facebook, one of Silicon Valley's most controversial figures. But in 2002, Thiel had a specific idea sitting in his head that wouldn't let go. At PayPal, his team had built a fraud detection system. It could look at thousands of transactions, find hidden patterns, and catch criminals that no human analyst could catch. Thiel's thought, what if you built that, but for terrorism? What if you took all that disconnected government intelligence, phone calls, satellite images, financial records, travel data, and built one system that could see all of it at once? He called the company Palantir, named after the seeing stones. And here's something interesting. Right from the start, Thiel understood the danger of what he was building. He wanted to see everything, but he also claimed he wanted to protect privacy while doing it. That tension between surveillance and freedom would define everything that came next. By 2025, Palantir had a market cap of over $400 billion, more valuable than the three largest traditional defense contractors on Earth. And yet, most people have never heard of it. That's not an accident. To understand Palantir, you have to understand the two men who built it. Peter Thiel, libertarian, contrarian, ruthless strategist, a man who once said competition is for losers and that monopoly is the goal of every great company. And then there's Alex Karp. Karp is not a typical tech CEO. He has a PhD in social theory from Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany. He studied under one of Europe's most famous philosophers. His doctoral thesis was about aggression and political identity. He doesn't code. He never built a product. And when Thiel first offered him the job, Karp didn't even know what the company did yet. Thiel and Karp had been friends since Stanford Law, opposite in almost every way. Thiel, disciplined, cold, strategic. Karp, loud, philosophical, emotional. One journalist described Karp as someone who looks like he wandered in from a poetry reading and ended up running a surveillance empire. And yet, Thiel trusted him. Because Karp had something that engineers don't. He understood ethics. He understood politics. He understood how people react when they feel watched. In 2004, Thiel handed Karp the keys and said, "Build this." Here's what happened next. Nobody wanted to fund them. Sequoia Capital, one of Silicon Valley's most legendary VC firms, their chairman reportedly doodled through the pitch meeting. Kleiner Perkins told them they were doomed to fail. The idea of building software for spies and soldiers was toxic in the Silicon Valley world. This was 2004. Silicon Valley wanted social networks and mobile apps. Nobody wanted to touch intelligence contracts. So Palantir almost died in its crib. Almost. Because there was one investor who didn't just want to fund them, one investor who needed them, the CIA. Through their venture capital arm, a fund called In-Q-Tel, the CIA quietly invested $2 million in Palantir in 2005, and that changed everything. Not just because of the money, but because of what came with it. Introductions, access. CIA officials personally walked Palantir into meeting rooms at the NSA, the FBI, the Pentagon. The spy agency didn't just fund Palantir, they helped build it. Leaked documents later revealed that Palantir software was developed through a direct, hands-on collaboration between Palantir engineers and U.S. intelligence analysts over nearly 3 years. They didn't just take a check and wave goodbye, they worked together. Think about that. The CIA co-built commercial software with a private company, using classified intelligence workflows as the blueprint. Palantir was from day one a child of the intelligence community. By 2007, Palantir had built 2 core products. Palantir Gotham, named after Batman City, used by military and intelligence agencies to track terrorists, map networks, predict attacks. Palantir Metropolis, named after Superman City, used by Wall Street banks to detect fraud and analyze financial data. Both products did the same fundamental thing. They took chaos, messy, disconnected, overwhelming data, and turned it into clarity. In Afghanistan and Iraq, U.S. soldiers were being killed by IDEs, improvised explosive devices. The military was drowning in intelligence about where these bombs might be planted. Tip-offs, satellite images, signal intercepts, but nobody could process it fast enough. Palantir Gotham changed that. Field commanders reported it gave them better battlefield intelligence than the Army's own official systems. Some said it saved lives. Congressman Duncan Hunter went to Congress in 2012 specifically to complain that the Department of Defense was blocking wider use of Palantir. Soldiers wanted it, bureaucrats were slowing it down. But the most dramatic chapter, May 2, 2011, Abbottabad, Pakistan. U.S. Navy SEALs stormed a fortified compound and killed Osama bin Laden. The official story focuses on the SEALs, but the intelligence story is more interesting. For years, the CIA had one lead, a courier, a man with the nickname Kuwait, who ran messages for bin Laden. That was it. One nickname, no face, no address, no phone number. Here's what Palantir reportedly did. Gotham integrated approximately 3 million intelligence cables, 170,000 satellite images, and 8,000 hours of recorded communications. It mapped the entire Al-Qaeda network as a graph. Every person, every connection, every financial transaction. And it found Kuwait. Not by magic, by pattern, by seeing a connection that 10,000 human analysts working separately had all missed. Once they had the courier, they tracked him to a mansion in Abbottabad. No internet, no phone calls, but abnormal trash patterns. The compound burnt its garbage. Most houses don't. That anomaly, that tiny data point, was flagged. Financial tracking that once took 72 hours, Palantir compressed it to 12 minutes. Palantir has never officially confirmed this story. They've never denied it either. That silence says everything. After the bin Laden operation, Palantir's reputation inside the intelligence community became untouchable. By 2013, leaked documents revealed their client list included the CIA, DHS, NSA, FBI, CDC, Marine Corps, Air Force, Special Operations Command, and more. The FBI, which had never connected its databases to the CIA's, was linked for the first time through Palantir. Stop and think about that for a second. For 50 years, American law enforcement and intelligence agencies kept their databases completely separate, on purpose, as a check on government power. Palantir quietly connected them. Nobody voted on that, nobody debated it publicly. A private company, funded by the CIA, just did it. Honestly, that's either the most brilliant thing in modern national security or the most dangerous. Maybe both. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Palantir's defenders say they're the good guys. They catch terrorists, they saved soldiers' lives, they helped the US distribute COVID vaccines faster than any other country. And that's true. But Palantir's power doesn't stop at terrorists. It reaches much, much closer to home. Immigration. Since 2011, Palantir has been one of ICE's most important technology partners. They built a tool for ICE called Falcon. One app. ICE agents could open it on a phone or a laptop and instantly pull someone's airline records, their driver's license scans, their border crossing history, and their cell phone location. Not a criminal's records, anyone's records. Think about that. A government agent, one screen, and within seconds, your full movement history for the last 5 years. That was 2011. It only grew from there. In 2014, ICE gave Palantir a $41 million contract to build something called the Investigative Case Management System. Every single ICE investigation, Every suspect, every case, every record stored inside Palantir software. Palantir wasn't just a tool anymore. They were the brain of America's entire immigration enforcement system. Then 2025 happened. In April 2025, ICE handed Palantir a $30 million contract to build something new. They called it Immigration OS. And this is where it gets serious. Immigration OS does three things. First, it uses AI to decide who gets targeted for deportation. It pulls your passport records, social security files, IRS tax data, license plate scans, and cell phone location all at once and flags you as a priority. Second, it tracks people who are voluntarily leaving the United States in near real time. Third, once you're flagged, it manages the entire process, from identification to detention to the deportation flight. One leaked internal document described it simply. Palantir is now able to approve raids, book arrests, generate legal documents, and route people to deportation flights all from a single interface. A CNN report described it as a kind of assembly line. You go in one end, you come out the other on a plane. Former Palantir employees were so disturbed, they published an open letter. They titled it The Scouring of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings reference. They said the company's ethical guardrails, the ones built in from the beginning, were being taken apart piece by piece. Y Combinator co-founder Paul Graham posted publicly that Palantir was building the infrastructure of a police state. And here's the part civil liberties groups are most worried about. Immigration OS pulls data from government databases regardless of whether that data is accurate. If there's a mistake in your file, you don't get a warning. You get a knock on the door. The system doesn't know it's wrong. It just acts. Palantir's answer? Same as always. We just build the tools. The government decides who gets targeted. Which is technically true, but Immigration OS received $900 million in federal contracts since January 2025 alone. And one more detail. Stephen Miller, the Trump administration's chief architect of immigration policy, he holds a significant financial stake in Palantir, the company that builds the targeting tool and the man who designs the targeting policy, connected by money. You decide what to call that. Predictive policing. Before all of this, back in 2012, Palantir ran a secret pilot program with the New Orleans Police Department. Secret. The city council didn't know, the public didn't know. It ran for years. Police were using Palantir software to predict who might commit a crime before they committed it. Not people with warrants, not people under investigation, people who a computer decided were probably going to do something wrong. The LAPD used similar tools. And here's the fundamental problem that data scientists will immediately recognize. If you train a system on biased data, you get a biased system. The algorithm doesn't know that certain neighborhoods were over-policed for 50 years. It just sees the arrest records, and it sends officers back to those same neighborhoods over and over, a feedback loop that never ends. Palantir software didn't create that bias, but it locked it in and automated it. Let me show you how big this company actually is right now. March 2026, the US military. Remember Google, the most powerful tech company on Earth? In 2018, they won a contract to build AI for the Pentagon, a project called Maven. It was designed to analyze drone surveillance footage and automatically identify targets. Then Google's own employees said no. Thousands of them signed a petition. They didn't want their work used to kill people. Google was embarrassed. They walked away from the contract. Palantir walked straight in. No hesitation, no petition. Alex Karp has said publicly, and I'm paraphrasing, "Our enemies should fear our weapons." The Maven Smart System contract is now worth $1.3 billion. In May 2025, the Pentagon expanded it by another $795 million, running through 2029, covering every branch of the US military. One contract, one company, all of America's military AI. NATO. In April 2025, NATO officially adopted Palantir's system across Allied command operations. Here's what's remarkable. NATO's procurement process normally takes years. Committees, reviews, bureaucracy, the whole thing. Palantir was deployed in 30 days. 30 days. That tells you exactly how desperate Western militaries are to get this technology and how much they already trust Palantir to deliver it. Ukraine. Palantir software is live on an active battlefield right now. Ukraine uses it to analyze satellite images, track Russian force positions, and coordinate targeting in near real time. When Russia invaded, Alex Karp was one of the very first Western CEOs to fly into Kiev and meet Zelensky face-to-face. He didn't wait to see which way the war was going. He picked a side on day one. Israel. In January 2024, Palantir signed a strategic deal with the Israeli Defense Forces for what they called war-related missions. Protests erupted outside Palantir's London office. Some employees resigned. Karp was asked about it. His answer was direct. He said losing good people over it was painful, but the decision was not changing. The numbers. In 2024, Palantir's total revenue hit $2.87 billion, up 29% from the year before. The US government alone paid them $1.57 billion that year. Their 2025 forecast? More than $3.7 billion. And the stock? When Palantir went public in September 2020, shares were around $10. By August 2025, the stock peaked near $188, a 31 times return in 5 years. The company that Silicon Valley VCs laughed out of the room, the one they said was doomed to fail, is now worth more than Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman combined, the 3 largest traditional defense companies on Earth, combined. And the philosopher CEO with the PhD in social theory, Alex Karp's personal compensation in 2024 was nearly $6.8 billion. The Economist named him CEO of the Year. The man who studied aggression and political identity in Frankfurt, Germany, ended up running the most powerful surveillance and military AI company in the history of the world. Honestly, even Tolkien couldn't have written that. Right now, Palantir is building something called Immigration OS, and it's almost finished. The Dutch government just revealed in 2025 that their police have used Palantir software since 2011, in secret, for 14 years. When researchers asked for records, they were denied. When they finally got documents through litigation, 99% of the content was redacted. And across the US, as AI becomes central to warfare, to law enforcement, to border control, to financial crime, to healthcare, Palantir keeps showing up. Their Foundry platform is now used by Merck, BP, Airbus, major banks. Their AIP, a artificial intelligence platform, integrates large language models into their surveillance and military systems, letting analysts query data in plain English. And right now, the Pentagon is developing the Army's first AI-integrated ground vehicle, the Titan system, designed to reduce the time between detecting a threat and responding to it, the sensor-to-shooter timeline. Palantir is building that too. The question isn't if Palantir is powerful. The question is, who watches the watchers? There is currently no comprehensive legal framework governing how private AI contractors can use predictive analysis in conjunction with government agencies. Palantir has an internal privacy oversight board. They have audit trails built into their software. They say every action is logged. They say they don't collect or sell data. But the Dutch government used their tools in secret for 14 years. New Orleans used predictive policing secretly for years. ICE used their systems to target families. At what point does a tool become a policy? Peter Thiel named this company after a seeing stone that corrupted everyone who used it. That's either brilliant self-awareness or the most ironic company name in history. Alex Karp, the philosopher, the guy with the PhD in social theory, the one who was supposed to be the ethical guardrail, has said publicly the death and pain brought to our enemies is mostly brought by Palantir. That's not a tech CEO talking. That's a man who has made his peace with what his company is.
Palantir's technology does save lives.
It found a terrorist, it distributed vaccines, it helped armies defend themselves. And Palantir's technology does threaten freedoms. It tracks immigrants, it profiles neighborhoods, it powers AI targeting systems that operate faster than human judgment can catch up. Both things are true at the same time. That's the real story here. Not that Palantir is evil, not that Palantir is heroic. The real story is that we built a seeing stone. We handed it to governments and militaries and private contractors. And now we're discovering, just like Tolkien warned, that the stone shows you what you want to see. And the people holding it always believe they're the good guys. The question is, are you going to just let them keep looking? If this video hit different, subscribe, because next time we're going into something even darker. We are working harder to research and bring this truth to you, so make sure to subscribe and support us. Signing off. And this has been the Monarch Report.